God of War Ragnarok releases in under a month now, under 30 days, and we're actually getting a little bit more news over on Santa Monica's side. So Santa Monica on Twitter and on Instagram uploaded this image. The caption on the image says, "The Aesir rule the 9 realms from Asgard with an iron fist. Odin is fixated on power and knowledge. His son, Thor, heads a family of strong warriors who remain fiercely loyal to each other. Our final family portrait was illustrated by iconic manga artist." Then they tag the person's name. However, I find this so interesting because Thor's wife and daughter is on this family portrait, means that this is the very first reveal that these two characters are getting. So you have Thor, Magni, Modi, and Balder, who we all met in God of War 2018, but you also have these two blonde women that are on there as well. So, what the hell? These two blonde women are Sif and Thor's wife and his daughter. So, the very first time we heard about Thor's daughter was in God of War 2018 when Sindri actually mentioned it, or he started to. But the next time we heard about this will be years down the line with a recent interview by Ryan Hurst, who talked about Thor and Thor's family. Here is what he had to say.
I love this. So the way that I presented him was, he has a bit of pathos to him that you wouldn't necessarily expect. That there's some relationships that they investigate, where with his father, with his wife, and with his daughter. They show this other side of him that I was really, really interested in, which is that, like, for one, he's a drunk. And he's trying not to be a drunk for his family.
Now, I do want to bring this up because some people have actually been saying this. The woman on the far right, who we believe is Thor's daughter, some people believe that this might be Freya. Evidence of this comes from the fact that Freya does have a very similar tattoo as this character has. If you look really close, you can tell that there is a tattoo that it does really resemble Freya, but I think that this character is much too young to look like Freya. This really resembles more of a kid. The caption does read, "Thor's family and they're loyal to him." It really doesn't make much sense for Freya to be here. Now, let's talk about Thor's wife and daughter and how they can play an impact in the story. Loki in the traditional mythology did have connections to all of these characters, and he interacted with them in some way, shape, or form. For example, Sif, who is Thor's wife, did actually have a huge interaction with Loki in the traditional mythology. Loki pulled a prank on her and cut her hair, and is forced to replace the hair, but in that process of Loki trying to replace the hair, several incredible objects in the Norse world was created. This includes Mjolnir. So you know, knowing that these connections exist in the traditional mythology and how Santa Monica does include this but changes the story in its own way, maybe we'll have a very crazy interaction with Sif and Atreus in the next game, which is, I think it's really cool to think about. Perhaps once we meet Sif for the very first time, maybe that she doesn't like Loki, our Loki, for some reason. Maybe those two have like their own separate battle at some point. You know, them not liking each other will make sense because in the traditional mythology, they really didn't like each other either. So I find this very exciting to think about. Now, I'm not sure of any relationship in the traditional mythology between Loki and Thor's daughter, but it'd be really cool to see how she interacts with the story as well. How cool would it be while Kratos is fighting Thor himself, Thor's wife and his daughter are going after Loki? That would be a really, really cool interaction. But maybe story-wise, these two might get along. Who knows what Santa Monica is going to do at this point. So it seems that there is some conflict between Thor and his wife and his daughter, although they do remain loyal to each other. Thor's drunkenness is pretty much an issue, and he's trying not to be a drunk. So I think this is all really cool, and it's gonna tie into Thor's story as a character. You know, I recently made a video comparing Thor and Kratos' story, how there are some similarities. I think Santa Monica is playing with those similarities, similar to how they made every character in God of War 2018 very similar to Kratos. I'm not gonna get into it now. If you want to watch that video, you can. I'll leave a link at the end of the video. But I really do think that they're going to play a role in the next game, and they're supposed to be reminders of Kratos' past family, his wife, and his daughter in Greece. So they're not really forgotten in the story altogether. I think that as we progress through the game, as we learn more about Thor as a character, there are going to be some resemblance between Kratos and Thor. They're not exact stories, but they are very similar, and I broke that down in another video.